I'm very excited to be here, Mr. Chairman, because this is on the record. And, it's a wonderful thing about congressional hearings. They're on the record. Kim Beazley, who's Australia's ambassador to the United States, tells me that when he runs into a climate skeptic, he says to them, make sure to say that very publicly. Because I want our grandchildren to read what you said and what I said. And so we're on the record. And our grandchildren or great-grandchildren are going to read. And so some are here suggesting to those children that here's the deal. Your child is sick. This is what Tom Friedman gave me this great analogy yesterday. Your child is sick. 98 doctors say treat him this way. 2 say no, this other is the way to go. I'll go with the 2. You're taking a big risk with those kids. Because 98 of the doctors say do this thing. 2 say do the other. So, it's on the record. And we're here with important decisions to be made. And I'd also suggest to my free enterprise colleagues, especially conservatives here, whether you think it's all a bunch of hooey that we've talked about in this committee, the Chinese don't. And they plan on eating our lunch in this next century. They plan on innovating around these problems and selling to us and the rest of the world the technology that will lead the 21st century. So we may just press the pause button here for several years, but China is pressing the fast forward button. And as a result, if we wake up in several years and we say, gee, this didn't work very well for us, the 2 doctors turned out not to be so right. The 98 might have been the ones listened to. Then what we'll find is we're way behind those Chinese folks. Because if you got a certain number of geniuses in the population, if you're 1 in a million in China, there's 1,300 of you. And you know what? They plan on leading the future. So if you're a free enterprise conservative here, just think, it's a bunch of hooey. It's science, a bunch of hooey. But if you miss the commercial opportunity, you've really missed something. And so I think it's great to be here on the record. I think it's great to see the opportunity that we've got ahead of us. And I also, since this is sort of a swan song for me and Mr. Baird, I'd encourage scientists that are listening out there to get ready for the hearings that are coming up in the next Congress. Those are going to be difficult hearings for climate scientists. But I would encourage you to welcome those as fabulous opportunities to teach. Don't come here defensively. Don't come to this committee defensively. Say, I'm glad you've called me here today. I'm glad you're going to give me an opportunity to explain the science of climate change. Because I'm here to show you what you've spent, say, $340 million a year on the U.S. polar programs. So you spent the money. Now I'm here to tell you what you got out of it. And I'm happy to educate you on what the data is. And hopefully we'll have experts like some of here today, but also, in a trip from this committee to Antarctica to visit with the money, the $340 million a year we spend on the polar programs. I met Donald Manahan, who's a professor at USC, the other one. We claim the real one is in Columbia, South Carolina, but the other one, the one out on the West Coast. That one, Dr. Manahan is a master teacher. I hope he's one of the witnesses here, because he's the kind of guy that would welcome the inquiry and would lead a tutorial for folks that are skeptics so they could see the science. Meanwhile, we got people that make a living and a lot of money on talk radio and talk TV, pronouncing all kinds of things. They slept at Holiday Inn Express last night, and they are now experts on climate. And those folks substitute their judgment for the people who have PhDs and who are working tirelessly to discover the data. So we have some real choices ahead of us. But I hope in the future, as we have these hearings, that we realize it's all on the record. and our grandchildren and great-grandchildren are going to get to see. And it could turn out the science is all wrong. You know, we've had that before. We used to bloodlet people, and I think John Quincy Adams, the speaker, made the very helpful suggestion that we move him to the window, and the poor guy froze to death, right? After he had the stroke over there in the Lindy Boggs room. So sometimes science turns out to be wrong, but other times it turns out to be very right. And the key to scientific endeavor is what we're here to discuss today, is openness, access to the data, and full challenging of the data. That's how we advance science. I look forward to the hearing, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for the opportunity.